Hi, DJBagpuss here. Today I'm going to be revealing my story of being bullied and discuss the darker days of my school. No one's ever heard this story, but today you're going to find out all about it. Come and join me as we have the darker days of school and talk about bullying. Okay, we are recording. Hello everybody, how are you doing? Welcome to episode 7 of the DJ Bagpuss show. And as you could probably guess, DJ Bagpuss is feeling a little bit under the weather. I have a very bad cough and cold, so please bear with me as I record this episode. Recording is going to be a little bit more tricky in today's video. And just get everything right. Got my water there, everything right. Yeah, so as you probably heard in last week's episode and in the episode before, I was like sounding a little bit sniffly. So now I really do have a full-blown cold and a bit of a cough. I think I got it at the party last week. Really good party. Thanks again. Shout out to Ben for the love for inviting me. You guys at this particular moment are seeing episode 6 of the DJ Bagpuss show, which is the origins of DJ Bagpuss, talk about my school days. Absolutely, I mean, I've really uploaded that an hour ago and it has just had a surge, so I hope you enjoy that episode. Please give me your feedback, thoughts and responses to that episode, and I hope you enjoy the episode and enjoyed the episode so far and the episodes to come as well. So obviously last week we spoke about my school days and it was a really positive episode. You guys really seem to, at the minute I can see that you guys and girls are really seem to enjoy that episode, and for me it was a good episode because it was kind of nice to talk about my school days in a really positive manner and kind of, talk about it in an uplifting way, talking about the good times and talking about how, education is such an important time of people, of our lives, and the idea that, we kind of, people don't like school and people don't like that idea of school, but, in the end I came out of it with some really good grades and did really well, coming out at the end of it, and it was great to talk about it in a really positive way. But I spoke about it and I wasn't completely truthful when I spoke about my school days last week, and this was intentional. I deliberately and purposely left some stuff out and wasn't 100% honest with you. The reason why I did that is because basically for me it would have ruined the vibe of the video. Last week's episode we talked about my school days, we talked about disco, prom, lessons, friends, all of that good stuff, and I think had I spoken about what I'm going to be talking about in this episode, I think it would have taken away kind of the overview, kind of positivity feel of that video. So that was something that I didn't really want to do. I didn't want to take away the positivity. I didn't want to bring down the vibe of the video by talking about what I'm going to be talking about today. However, it is really important to what I'm going to be talking about today, and it's time for me to share a story which I haven't shared with very many people, and something that I've kept hidden for a number of years, and today I'm going to share that in all its glory. I'm going to reveal that and discuss it, kind of, and I'm a little bit hesitant to do this, because, so you have to bear with me, it'd be stop and start kind of really, but it's really important for me to talk about this, and I feel like because we talked about my school days, it's relevant, and I'm ready now to share this with all of you. Kind of the reason why I'm also a little bit hesitant to kind of share this is because when I set out my channel to do DJ Bagpuss, one of the early selling points of the DJ Bagpuss show was because of all about me being positive, talking in a positive manner, sharing stuff, about my love for genres, doing funny stuff, doing really cool stuff, and doing stuff that was very light-hearted. Because a lot of people out there and a lot of things in the world are kind of it's quite negative. There's a lot of people that are under stress, or they're not very happy in themselves, or they've had terrible times occurring in their life. So if my audience can come onto my channel and sit back, relax, forget all of the negative stuff in the world, and then just enjoy my video in general, then brilliant, that's absolutely amazing. But this is such an important topic and something really personal to me that I felt like I would be a fool if I didn't shy away. So, as you can tell from the short introduction of the video, today we're going to be talking about bullying, and not just talking about bullying in general, though I'm going to start the episode quickly talking about bullying in general, but then I'm going to share my bullying experiences. The gloves are off, I'm not going to hold anything back, I'm going to be really truthful and talk about the three different instances in my life that I had of bullying, and then finally give advice and help for victims of people who are being bullied and also who are bullying people. Because this is something that happened to me in my past. This is something that I had on multiple occasions, and something that really was, darker days of school for me. I'm going to put it into context and kind of give the rounded picture so you have a complete overview of my school day. You know most of what happened in my school days. I said the journey last week, but now I'm kind of telling you the whole story, and kind of the stuff that I left out last week is going to be addressed in this video. I'm just going to be really honest and really open to talk about it, because I feel like that will be the best way to try and raise a bit of an awareness. Now, I want to stress very, very clearly before we even get into the video, I want to stress 100% that I'm not doing this video to try and get people to feel sorry for me, to get sympathy, to get people to sit there and go, oh, feel really, really bad. This happened to me a long, long time ago. This is in my past. This happened years and years ago, and I came out of it the other side. I'm now a very, very happy person. I've got a great group of friends. I've got a great family, and I'm loving the job that I'm doing at this particular moment. So this is in the past. I'm not doing it to try and get people to feel sorry for me, nor trying to do this for attention. I'm also not doing it just to try and get easy views, when you're doing YouTube, yes, the views are something that you can relate to if you know that people who are watching it, the more views you get on some videos, people enjoyed that video more than others. So it is an important factor, but it isn't the sole purpose why I'm doing this video, to try and get, more and more views. Kind of the biggest reason and the main reason why I'm doing this is because to inform and to help. Looking at my demographic, which I'll put a picture up which I will put a picture up on the screen. My demographic, as you can see, my audience is between the ages of 13 and 60. So, the majority, though, of my audience are between the ages of 13 and 18. That is my biggest demographic. So these are people that are still in school or have literally just left school. And then my next biggest demographic is between the ages of 18 to 25. So this is people that are currently in college or sixth form or university, or just starting going into work. So, school is still fresh in their memory, and, they can relate to this. So, I mean, if this video does anything other than, if there's someone out there who watches this video that is being bullied or is bullying someone and they don't know where to turn, they don't know where to look, because majority of the times, people who are being bullied don't want to admit to themselves that this is happening. They don't want to talk about it, and people who are bullying know that they're doing it, but they can't get a way out of it. So, I mean, if I can help just one person, because obviously, and something that I've always thought of, the first stage of solving bullying is recognising that there is a problem in the first place. So, that's really what I want to do, and if I can just help one person out there to try and solve a problem if they're being bullied or bullying someone, then that is great. That's absolutely amazing. That's exactly what I want to do. I've set up something as well coming into this video. I mean, I'm recording this Friday, but during the week while I'm editing, I'm going to be setting up an email address. Now, obviously, this is not my actual personal business email address, because giving that away on YouTube would be a very, very bad idea. However, I'm going to be setting up a completely separate email account, which I'll leave a link to in the description, and you'll see it kind of every 10 minutes as we go along. Now, I'm not the best person to give advice on bullying, nor I'm not professional. There's a lot of charities, there's a lot of organisations that you can go out to get professional help on talking about bullying. But for me, talking about it from a personal level, and if I can give advice to anyone to try and help them in their dark moments, then brilliant, that's absolutely amazing. So I'll leave a link to the email address, I'll leave it down below as you'll see on screen now, and I'll also leave it in the description. And if you are affected by bullying, you're being bullied, or you're bullying someone and you don't know where to turn, and after watching this video you want to get one-to-one personal advice with me, then please feel free to email me. Drop me a line at DJBagpussBullying, so that's capital D, capital B, capital B, at hotmail.co.uk. just send me a line, because obviously I don't want to get any emails, because that means people are going through bullying and being affected in that way. I don't want to go through that. I don't want people to be in the same position I was a couple of years ago. But if you are in that situation and you want to get help, you want to get some personal advice, if the stuff that I talked about in this video is something that you want to, you want to get more of a one-to-one personal basis, then, please drop me a line. Give me, you can be anonymous. You don't have to send me your name. You don't have to send me your email address. You don't have to send anything like that. But if all this is me trying to help you on a one-to-one basis to try and solve any problems, then, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Obviously, I'm only going to be responding to serious emails of people that generally need advice. If you send me, the world's greatest meme, or, just a bit of hate mail, then obviously I'm not going to respond to that. But it's just the people who generally need help and don't know where to go, and they can use this as a reference to try and get help in that manner. So, yeah, I'm going to set that up, and I'll kind of introduce what this episode is going to be. Obviously, I don't want people to enjoy this episode, because it's not going to be the most positive episode, but we've got a lot of great positive stuff coming up on my channel, on the DJ Bagpuss Show and Bagpuss Uncut. So if you're enjoying the season so far and look forward to the episodes to come, then please drop a like on the video. It takes 2 seconds, and the appreciation you show by hitting a like means so much to me. And also, if you're new to this channel and want to see more stuff, positive stuff, not like this, but more kind of podcast type stuff, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications for my channel, so you'll never miss a moment when I upload any activity onto the DJ Bagpuss Show. Also, don't forget that you can follow me on Twitter at DJBagpuss1998, and also check out the first 6 episodes of the DJ Bagpuss Show and the first 2 episodes of Bagpuss Uncut. I'll leave a link to those in the description. Need a drink because my throat is literally burning. Having a cold, summer cold, is always the worst thing. So, let's start by talking about bullying in general, to schools, college, work, and stuff like that. I've kind of set the open before I go into my personal kind of story on bullying, which is going to take up a large portion of the video. But we'll start small. We'll just talk about it general, and then we'll move into my kind of personal bullying story. Now, for me, bullying is something that happens to so many people. So many people are affected by bullying, have that problem where, they're going through a stage of being bullied, or they're bullying someone, and it primarily happens in schools. The majority of bullying cases that you hear and that you see kind of happen most of the time in schools. That's kind of where it starts. But it can happen in college. It can happen in colleges in 6th form. But, I mean, mostly by the time you get to kind of college and 6th form, when you're in further education, most of the people have grown up. That kind of playground bullying style, childish act kind of fades away by the time you get to college or 6th form. So it kind of primarily happens in schools, but can happen in college and 6th form. There are people out there that love to go out their way to kind of really torment and upset people. But, and also it can happen in the workplace. It can happen, people, young people that start jobs can sometimes, and I've heard stories, quite a few stories actually, of the older people that have been in that business for kind of 10, 15, 20, 25 years, that start to gang up and bully the younger people because they think they have the authority and power. And bullying is basically, it's all about power. It's about having power, it's about having authority, and people that bully kind of have and get that kick out of having that power and general position. And sort of what bullying is that it's someone going out of their way to kind of make you feel uneasy, to feel unsafe, to feel negative, to kind of put you down and make you feel upset, make you feel worthless, make you feel negative, and they do this on a consistent basis. So what I'm trying to say is that any time in school, there will come a point, everyone that watches this video, there will be a moment in school where someone says something which is, can be upsetting, or can upset you, or can annoy you, and it's something that, something that you don't agree on, someone puts, has a dig at you, someone tries to be upsetting in that kind of way. And once in a blue moon, you know, everyone does it. Occasionally my friends will say something that I don't agree with or annoys me or upsets me. I do the same as well. We all do it, you know, we all have opinions, and we all kind of express different ideas and stuff. So there comes a time where, you know, from time to time you may upset someone and you might cause harm to them, even when you don't mean to. But bullying is kind of the thing where, say you go into school and someone that you know says something not very nice to you, something quite upsetting that makes you feel a little bit, you know, upset, and makes you feel a negative thing inside of you. And then you go into school the next day and they do this again, and then they do this again and again and again and again. That is bullying. You know, it's kind of making you feel negative on a consistent basis. There's obviously many different forms of bullying. You know, you've got obviously physical bullying, which is, you know, getting beaten up and someone physically harming you. You've got mental bullying, which is something that I had in school, you know, and I think that's even worse than physical bullying, because mental people can be cruel. They can get into your skin. I mean, the biggest weapon, really, as a person, the biggest thing that can affect you and send you down a disastrous path is your own brain. You know, your brain is the deadliest weapon, because it gives you all of these different thoughts. You start feeling very negative. You start feeling like, you know, you're worthless, that you don't know where to turn, you don't know what to do. You feel like, you know, this is it. You know, my life is pointless, and you get very kind of negative feelings and thoughts that run and transcend into your body, which kind of can cause major problems. And of course, you've got the psychological bullying, which someone can go out their way to kind of terrify you, scare you, make you feel like you're in a very dangerous position. And often victims of bullying is something I can relate to. Often, you know, their first problem is they don't want to admit what's happening to them. You know, they're getting bullied, they don't want to think to themselves that this is what's happening. You know, they want to kind of believe that, you know, they're not being bullied, this isn't happening to them. And in actual fact, deep down in their conscience, you know, they know that this is happening to them, but they can't do anything to stop that. They can't do anything to try and, you know, get out of that situation. It's only when they realise and admit that they're being bullied is where you can start having the solution. And often people that are actually bullying, I believe, and I've seen this firsthand, they don't actually know that they're doing this. You know, there are people who, you know, bully and cause harm who don't know that that is what they're doing. Like, they don't feel like they are actually bullying someone. You know, they know what they're doing deep down in their conscience as well, but they don't actually necessarily take into account how the person feels. And, you know, people who bully, yeah, you know, they shouldn't be doing it, and it is horrible, and some people generally get a kick out of it, but there are people that have bullied before that generally don't know that they're doing it and generally feel absolutely awful when it kind of blows up, which I'll get to on later on in the episode. And kind of schools do their best to try and solve it. You know, they kind of say that they're clamping down on bullying, that they're going to sort it, they're going to try and, you know, knuckle down to try and get it out of the school completely. But it's a hard thing for schools to kind of get their head around, because, you know, when you're being bullied or you're bullying someone, you know, you're clever enough that you know, if you're bullying someone, how to get out of it. You can say the right things. You know, particularly when it's mental bullying, you know, they have to prove that you're actually doing that. You know, you have to prove that this is happening and you're not taking it out of proportion, or feeling like you're getting over the top, or, you know, taking things out of proportion yourself. If you're getting physically beaten up, then, you know, you've got the evidence. When it's mental and psychological, the evidence is all up there, and teachers you know, can't see that. So they struggle, I believe. They struggle on a basis to contain it. You know, they have problems trying to do that. And, you know, for me, what I take into account is that the victims, you know, they get to a stage where they don't know where to turn, they don't know what to do, they don't know where to go, and then they get to another stage where the person that's actually bullying, you know, again, doesn't know how to get out of it. You know, that they just get sucked into it, that they just don't know how to stop, they don't know how to put the brakes on. And those can be major problems when bullying is at its height, where the person that's bullying doesn't know how to stop, the victim doesn't know how to get out of it, and things can just escalate to, you know, absolute disastrous proportions. Now, obviously, with my bullying, you know, in my bullying stories that I'm going to tell you, you know, were severe. It was an awful time in my life. It was a dark day, which, looking back, I actually look as positive, because it kind of shaped me and molded me into the person that I am now, and kind of I would never ever let myself ever get back into that position. But my bullying was caught right in the bud. You know, I when it was getting to the point where I had enough, I said it very early on. I told my parents, I told teachers what was happening, and it did get dealt with. But there's a lot of people out there, a lot of people who are falling victims to bullying who are not so lucky, and they spiral into depression, then self-harm, and eventually some of them turn to suicide and actually lose their life over it. And I never ever got to that stage, but I can totally understand how people who are being bullied feel like that and get to that position, because when you're being bullied, you don't know where to go. You feel like your life is over. You feel negative, you feel depressed, you feel like your life is worthless. You start to believe what people are saying to you, and then you start questioning everything. You start questioning life. You don't want to go out, you don't want to socialise, and if it doesn't get stopped in the bud, it can escalate and escalate to the point where you generally don't know how things are going to go. You don't know how things are going to improve. You don't know how things are going to get better, and it's just an awful time if it isn't caught early. Sorry, need a drink. Recording a podcast when you've got a cough and a cold is really good. So I really do apologise. You have to bear with me. But this is important. Bottle's just falling on the floor. That's just brilliant. Thanks for that. So yeah, let's now talk about my bullying story. Okay, this is difficult, but I'm ready now to share it. Now, I had two major instances of being bullied in secondary school, and then I had something that I still struggle with now, but isn't me being bullied, it's just something that I struggle with in certain friendship groups. But one of my weaknesses is that I have this thing where, and I've got a lot better as I've got older, but I struggle to take criticism. I struggle to take negative things that people said to me. I've got a lot better as I've got older, and when I was younger, everything like a criticism that someone would say, I would take it as a personal attack on me. And because I'm still quite a sensitive person, which isn't a bad thing, but I am quite a person generally. So, this idea that, of me being kind of sensitive and not taking criticism well means that at times I can be a little bit vulnerable. And I think that vulnerability at times showed in school. As I've got older, I've learned that, in life, everyone has an opinion, everyone's entitled to their opinion, as long as they're not being rude or, being kind of going out for a personal vendetta against you. But opinion is an opinion, and you have to respect people's opinion. People are not going to like what you do, some people are not going to like what you say, and you have to take it on the chin. Life is like that. Just with my YouTube stuff, some people really love my channel, and I've had a few, not many, but I've had a few that don't like it. So either they don't watch it, they don't subscribe, or I've had like 2 negative comments, and it's something you have to take on the chin. You're putting yourself out there, you run the risk of someone judging you and kind of you have the risk of someone kind of not agreeing with you and being negative. But this was different at school, and the worst time and the worst act of my bullying, which kind of still stays in my memory now, which is an awful time, was in year 8. Now, if you remember last week on the DJBagpuss show talking about my school days, I talked about when we got into the end of year 8, going into year 9, the school decided to change the form groups and, put us in classes and form groups of all different years, and we could be with 2 friends that we wanted to be with. So, I was with a whole new group. That's how I met my friendship group, and from year 9 and year 10, things were great. So were they in year 7. I started year 7, I was with my own old form group. I started hanging around with people in my primary school, and because most of your lessons, apart from English, maths and science, were that were in sets, the rest of the lessons you had were in your form group, so you spent a lot of time with people in your form group. And I remember I used to hang around with these people in talking in, what was I saying? Talking at break time and lunchtime, and then kind of going into the lessons bit, hanging around with them. And obviously when you start a brand new form group, you hang around with people that you know from primary school, but then you start meeting new people. So new people come into your group, new people so you're friends with someone from primary school, incidentally, and you then decide to speak to new people, get to know new people, and then from then on, you kind of your friendship group starts to expand and increase by people. That's kind of the way that friendships work. And for me, I was hanging around with people from my primary school, and then new people came into the friendship group, and it just grew. And the first year, year 7, again, was a transitional year. It was a throwaway year. There was a lot of times where we just messed around and we had fun, and I had no major problems in year 7. Coming into year 8, after summer, coming back and hanging around with this group again, that is when I started to get problems. Now, I just want to make absolutely clear that the people that did bully me at the time, I don't think were bad people. I don't judge them. I don't have any grudges against them, and I don't, hold back anything to these people. These people, they were younger at the time. I don't think they necessarily even knew what they were doing, and we all make mistakes. As when we're younger, particularly in school, we all do stuff that we don't, particularly, enjoy, and there's stuff that we kind of do that we regret. We have regrets in our life, and when we're younger, we do stuff, we say stuff that we probably wouldn't even say now. And I've seen some of the people. I'm not friends with them. They're not in my friendship group, but I've seen them out and about. I've seen them on social media, and they're doing really well for themselves. And I admire how they've managed to turn things around and have a successful life and get back on track. And that's something that I really admire. And I have no grudges, and I don't judge anyone. I'm not going to say their names because of personal reasons, but these are the type of people that are doing really, really well. And I count them as being civil to them. I was civil to them in the late days of school, and I don't have any problems with them, and I don't judge them. And I said that I wasn't the type of person in school who was naughty. I wasn't a naughty student. As I said, I like to mess around with friends at times, and if I had a chance of getting away with it, I would. I was a bit mischievous. But I was hanging out with a group of people which they were mischievous, but their first thought when they went into school back in the early days were, let's create as much trouble as possible. These were the sort of people that wanted to cause as much trouble and grief as they possibly could. And that's not me. That's not the kind of person I am. That's not the kind of person that I have ever been like. So you could argue that I was probably potentially in the wrong crowd. And because of this, I started changing. My personality changed. One of the biggest things that I regret now, and something that I look back on with elements and some amounts of shame, really, is the fact that when I was younger, I said I wasn't popular, and I didn't believe I was popular at the time, even though towards the later years, and by the time I left school, I started to believe that gradually. But at school, I didn't ever think I was. So when I was at school and hanging around with people, I wanted to be liked. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be accepted. We all want to have that acceptance. And we all want to feel like that. And for me, I didn't believe that I was popular. I didn't believe that I was fitted in. I didn't believe that I just had that barrier up in my brain that I didn't think I was. Why would people like me? And I had that running through my head a lot in the early years of school. So I started to do stuff that I wouldn't necessarily do to try and fit in. I started back-chatting to teachers. I started to, slack off in classes. So I would be getting in trouble by teachers. I then would be messing around at break time and lunchtime, causing trouble. I would get home and I would start then acting out at home. So then my parents started shouting at me, and it was kind of becoming that vicious circle. I mean, that isn't bullying, that's just me, myself, making a huge mistake, and that's something that I would never, ever do again. I believe that people, we all do it, we filter. you know, we're not the same when we're at home to when we are at school. I generally don't believe, because I think that you're at your sanctuary at home, and you can, you know, relax and kind of be the person, the 100% person, the person that you generally are and you want to be is the person that you are at home. When you come to school, you are pretty much that same person, but you filter. You know, you filter. You're not gonna do the stuff that you do at home at school, you know, because you're in a public place. You know, you are with friends. You've got to learn and all stuff like that. You know, so for me now, this is who I am. This is what I am like. You know, but when I'm with family, I'm a little bit different from here. I mean, you only see what I put out on camera, but when I'm with, you know, different groups of friends, you know, when I'm with the group of, you know, all of you know, the lads, I'm a little bit different to when I'm with my group at college and when I'm at my parents at home. So I'm not being a different person, but, you know, everyone has that filter. Everyone kind of changes. But this was different at school. I was doing stuff that was so out of my character and doing stuff and being a person that I truly wasn't. And then I started to get bullied in this group, and it started out like little digs, you know, little digs here and there, and this was by people in the group who, at any given moment, at every given opportunity, they had, you know, they seized any chance they had. They would put a little dig into me and kind of put me down in a negative way. Stuff like, oh, you know, I'm not gonna make anything of my life. You know, I'm stupid. I'm disgusting. I'm not gonna have a future. You know, no girls ever wanna ever go out with me. You know, I'm worthless. You know, is my life actually valuable? You know, stuff like that. It was digs here and there, taking the mickey out of me. You know, in quite a serious way, and it started out gradually and then built up and built up and built up on a consistent basis. So it was really putting me down. Then I was acting out in class. I started acting out at break time and lunchtime, and, you know, that was causing me problems. You know, and I was getting told off by teachers, told off by parents. I was getting ripped apart by people in my group. So I started feeling very, very negative, and it escalated from there. So that kind of started, I would say, it started off small. There wasn't really any problems in the first term of year 8. It was probably when we came back after the October half-term holiday, and that sort of happened. It kept happening till Christmas. I had a Christmas just to be with family, and I just wanted to be alone to try and recompose and hopefully go back in January, and this would be fading away. Went back into January, and it kept coming, you know, happening and happening and happening. This mental bullying and this kind of me acting out carried on. It then escalated even further so we had all of that leading up to the 2-week Easter holiday, and this was when something really, my most embarrassing moment that happened to me. I'm going to tell you now. It's something that I forgot about. It's something that happened to be ages ago. It's something that was in my past, so I don't hold any grudges. But it's still something that I count as my most embarrassing moment ever, and it's something that I think people have forgot about. But I'm going to bring it back up to the surface because I feel like talking about it is going to be the greatest thing to kind of get it off my chest and to kind of share the story. There was an Easter fair, if you like, on this patch of grass, and I invited a couple of the people in my group to come with me and hang out with me during this fair. My parents were on they looked around and then they went home, so it was just a chance to hang around and have a bit of a laugh at this fair. And that's what we did. You know, we had a laugh, we were talking, it was going really, really well. And then one of the people in the group decided it would be funny to pull my trousers down in front of everyone. So this was loads of parents, you know, young kids, you know, pulling my trousers down, all, you know, and look, I quickly pulled them up, so I don't think anyone saw anything like that. But I was mortified. I was absolutely mortified. They thought it was a big joke. So I ran home and went into the door. Mum said, "How was it?" And I blubbered. You know, I cried and cried and cried, and you know, for me, it wasn't the fact of what they did. No, it wasn't what they did. You know, I was mortified, but I quickly pulled my trousers up, and people could argue it was just boys being boys, but the embarrassment and how I felt exactly of that happening made me kind of sort of stopping and starting here. The idea that everyone would know about this at school, and kind of the fact that of the never-ending, I had this idea that there'd be a never-ending cycle of people reminding me about it every single day and people laughing at me every single day, kind of really was something that was just mortifying me. You know, I was so depressed that other day. I didn't move from bed every single day, and I kind of had that general feeling every single day that, you know, that was it. You know, my reputation was over, my school days was over. I didn't know where to go. I didn't want to speak to anyone, and it affected me. Now, looking back, there's a lot of worse things that could have happened to me. You know, beaten up, you know, stuff like that. You know, looking back, it's not necessarily a huge thing, and it's something now that I don't think about a lot. You know, lots of people knew, but I'm not embarrassed of it now. You know, that happened in my past. We've all done stuff that we regret. But that was kind of the moment where I was so, you know, the bullying kind of hit its height, because I started getting messages about it. I started people reminding me about it, and I said, okay, let me go back to school. Let me have, you know, one more term. Hopefully things will get sorted. Now, I didn't tell any teachers at the time. I told my parents, but the school kind of just said, you know, he's got to toughen up, and, you know, unless we have proof that they are mentally bullying me, then there's nothing that they can do. And the thing that happened outside of school. Kind of the biggest and the moment which I would say was the final nail in the coffin, if you like, was that we were in a science lesson once with a supply teacher, and the supply teacher went out of the room for about 5-10 minutes, had to deal with a student that was misbehaving. And another thing that the people would be doing in my group would be that they would ask me for my dinner money, and for some reason I gave in to the peer pressure meaning to giving it over to them. So I did. I got my equipment stolen, I got my, you know, water bottle stolen, lunchbox stolen, pens and pencils stolen, and I didn't tell my parents that they were stealing it, so I would be getting in trouble because I kept saying I lost stuff, and they said it wasn't good enough to me to keep losing stuff that they paid for and they weren't replacing, so I was getting kind of both barrels at home and school. But we're in this science lesson, and one of the people in the group drew with a felt tip on my shirt. And I then said, no, I can't, I'm going to get in trouble. I've been drawn on before a couple of times. You know, I'm getting in trouble. I'm saying I accidentally did it. You know, you need to stop this now. And I kind of stood up for myself for one of the first times in a long time. And because of this, and because of me doing that, the person decided to hold me down and draw all over my t-shirt. You know, draw all over it. You know, all over it. It didn't draw my face and arms because that would have been too obvious, but literally just, you know, smothered the shirt in pen. So I literally went home that night. I put my blazer over the top so no one could see it. Got picked up by my mum, and again I blubbered, and this was it. I'd reached the final nail in the coffin. I was done. You know, I couldn't deal with this anymore. I couldn't be dealing with constantly getting it every single day. You know, I was getting reminded of what happened although that faded really away, what happened in the Easter holiday, kind of people forgot by the end of like a couple of weeks. People just move on, you know, kids move on to the next thing. But this kind of mental and psychological bullying that I was getting, and combined with the fact of getting stuff nicked, and I kind of told them all about that, I just had enough. And my mum, my dad and me made the decision that I would be leaving my secondary school. That was it. I wanted to permanently move away. I know there's going to be people sitting there from my old school that are going to be watching this and be going, you know, really? You were going to move? You were going to move away? I didn't tell anyone. You know, my plan was that I was going to leave probably by the end of the first term of year 9. And, you know, after that, you know, say I'll see you next term and all of that good stuff, and then never show up again. And then people would realise when it was too late, when I was already moved, that that's what I had done. And we kind of set the wheels in motion. You know, we had to send a letter off to the council. We spoke to several teachers. the ball was starting to get rolling. You know, the ball was starting to roll, and coming up to then, I obviously wasn't going to get any paperwork and finalised before even the first half term of year 9. So, kind of, I had the summer, and I said to myself, this summer I'm going to not speak to anyone from my old school. I'm just going to keep away and have 6 weeks back and relax and enjoy the time. I had a couple of weeks off at school during term time as well because of how it was affecting me. And, you know, I was convinced that this was not going to stop until I left. Kind of the way that I got out of it, though, was because of the school changing the form groups. This is how I got out of it. Because of the school changing the form groups, it meant I went to a new form with a couple of friends that were true friends of mine. And then I was with groups of old students, so people in year 7, in year 8, in year 9, year 10, 11, year 6th form, etc. And I was with people that, you know, were older. I was with friends, and I wasn't with the form group anymore because we were in sets for majority of the things going into year 9. I picked up GCSE options. I was in sets for English, Maths and Science. So it was kind of a get out of jail card. It was a way of getting out of this friendship group because the reason why I was hanging around with them all the time, they were in my lesson and asked me to hang around with them, so there wasn't a way of me getting out of the situation. Probably there was looking back, I just decided not to do that. And, you know, because of that, you know, because of me changing the form, because of me, you know, having, you know, lessons with new students and not being with them, sort of started to forget about me. We were still civil. You know, I never fell out with them. I was still civil to them like I am now. I don't think they were bad people. I don't judge them. And actually, looking back, I don't have any regrets. You know, it made me into the person I am now, and it's something which I look back in the past of my life. So, you know, but that was a great way of me, because then I started hanging out with people in other classes, and that was when they introduced me to other people, and that is how the friendship group, like I said last week, was formed. And I mean, I was going to leave. I was still saying, you know, saying to myself that this is what's going to happen. I'm going to be leaving. But the reason why I didn't leave was because when I started, that first term I had in year 9 was one of the best terms I had ever. You know, lessons that I was starting, such as media, you know, I remember walking into that lesson and my media teacher saying, so this term and in this course we're going to be learning about movies, about video games, about music, about advertising. We're going to be making our own films, our own TV shows, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, it was kind of ticking all the boxes, and kind of the lessons I was in, the teachers that I was having, lessons that I was in, I was enjoying. The friendship group I started to speak to was great. And I kind of thought to myself that actually things might not be as bad as what they seem. So, you know, and I then made the decision that I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay for another year, and then if it blows up again, if it carries on, then obviously I leave. Because by the time I got to year 10, I only had 2 years left, and if I had to move to a new school, then it could have had serious implications on my GCSE exams and, you know, my final grade. So if I was going to move, I had to do it early on in year 9 to kind of stop that happening. But because of changing the form, because of finding new friends, I kind of thought to myself, you know, I'm gonna make the decision, and I'm gonna stay and hopefully improve. And luckily that was the right decision. Looking back, I don't know what would happen if I'd ventured down the avenue of actually leaving my current school and moving to a new school. I don't know how that would have, if that would have been a positive or a negative, but I wouldn't have had the friends I've got now. Might not even been in the college course that I am now. So, you know, I don't regret what happened, sticking down the same path and being in that position, you know, that I'm in now. I don't have any kind of regrets about that. You know, I really don't. I don't have any regrets looking back and kind of thinking to myself that, you know, moving school would have actually been a beneficial thing for me. So, year 9 and year 10, no major problems. A couple of hairy moments, but I'll get onto that in the next part. The next kind of bullying thing that I had was in year 11. And this was a little bit different. This was a different kind of bullying. and kind of does relate to what I'm going to be talking about next, but this kind of was the major bullying thing that I actually said that this was happening. Year 9, Year 10 and Year 11, or Year 9, Year 10, sorry, were great years. I enjoyed it. I had a laugh with mates. I was doing well in my lessons. I was having a laugh. I was much more happy. Teachers could notice I was happy. I was being the person, the true self and the true person that I was being now. And it was only when I got into Year 11 that something changed. Now, I spoke to my mate who did bully me in Year 11 to make sure it was okay for me to talk about. I'm not going to reveal his name, but I'm still very good friends with him now, and he said yes to raise awareness, although he doesn't want to particularly think about this. But this is what I'm saying: when someone is bullying someone, but they don't necessarily know that they're doing it, they don't know how it's actually making them feel, and they can't stop. They let it spiral out of control, and they can't stop. And this was a friend. This was someone that I did regard as a friend, and it primarily started where I used to get a couple of digs here and there, a bit of banter, and I'll get onto that in about 15 minutes time. But this person started to do exactly what happened to me in Year 8, mentally bully me, psychologically bully me, cause me problems, cause me grief, and kind of doing that on a consistent basis. I used to sit next to him in my English, in one of my lessons, and I used to get that. On a consistent basis, and it started bothering me. I didn't say anything. I kind of let that person walk over me, and start to really walk over me in that way, and start bullying me, constantly putting me down, taking the mick out of me, being negative towards me, saying stuff, again, like I'm worthless, you're not going to do anything that you want to achieve, you're going to fail, you're not ever going to get onto music because, you're not good enough, you're not going to do anything, and any stuff like that. Constantly put me down and kind of look at me kind of as a joke, and it happened on a consistent basis, and it was happening daily. So it started to affect me, it started to get me down, and started to make me feel negative. And surprisingly, it wasn't the same, because in Year 8 it was kind of constant and every single time, but this would be, maybe one lesson. When we had English it would happen, and then maybe occasionally at lunchtime, and then the next day it wouldn't happen, and then it would happen again and again. So just as I was thinking, oh, it's just his way of bantering with me, it then kind of proceeded to come back in a vigorous way. It's cold, man. So this kind of started to happen. I think it was probably round about, I'd say, from probably the second term in November, and it kind of escalated and hit boiling point in around about April. So this was only like a month away from my actual GCSE exams. So I was concentrating on revising it and working, and still having this problem. And again, I'm a sensitive person. I take a lot of things to heart. I could have dealt with it a different way, and I could have maybe not reacted as much as I did, because when you're being bullied, the greatest thing that someone wants is a reaction. So I used to give that reaction to, coincidentally, my friend, and that meant that because I was giving a reaction and showed that I cared, it kind of carried on even further and further and further. And I think to myself, looking back now, that I feel like I handled it the right way, but I could have been indifferently in how I felt. I shouldn't have let it run for the length of time that it did, and I should have said something and kind of said it earlier. And because I didn't do that, I generally did feel like, I was worthless, and I started to believe some of the things that this person was saying to me. And kind of the last straw to that one was we used to have after school maths classes kind of every Monday from like 3 to half 4, and we had these university students come in, and these maths people come in, to kind of sit in different groups and kind of give us revision and kind of ask us questions and have a revision session with university students or graduates that, you know, will be incidentally that kind of person to help us to try and get us through a maths exam. And my friend who was bullying me at the time was in my same group, and it was an hour and a half of ripping into me every given chance, any given opportunity, ripping into me over and over and over again, mentally just making me feel like just worthless, like feeling like I was nothing, like I felt like I was, you know, not worth either, you know, being in this school, you know, having a future. It made me feel this bad. The only thing that I will say, which I've said to him I can talk about, which I'm absolutely doing, and I'm going to go on to kind of praising him actually, so, you know, don't judge this person, because this actual person is a really, really nice guy and a really lovely, you know, it was a mistake that he made, and I've made mistakes as well. We know none of us are perfect, so I don't judge it. But one of the things this person said to me was that if I tried hanging myself, my neck's so skinny that I wouldn't be able to do it because the rope was so small. Which for me just, well, again, like what happened in year 8 with the pen incident, that was the final nail for me. I'd had it for weeks, I had it for months on end. I'd got to the point where I just had enough. I absolutely had enough. The university student knew that something wasn't quite right, and you know, my friend didn't take any to notice. He didn't actually feel like he generally upset me in that way. You know, he went home, again got in the car, and for a third time in this episode, again I just broke down, and I then revealed to my parents all about this. You know, all what was happening, everything that had been happening with this person over the last couple of months, I shared with them. Well, my mum and dad hit the roof because this happened before. They said that, you know, you need to tell us immediately if it happened again, and it had happened again in kind of a different circumstance, but it had happened. So they went up to school the following morning, and I told the assistant head teacher all about it. I then spoke up and kind of basically snitched. You know, I then, you know, snitched on my friend and kind of revealed all of the problems, thinking that it would just be me and him having a talk, telling him how he really made me feel, and kind of moving on from there. And the repercussions of that were huge. The school excluded him for a week. He had to send a letter to me. He had to formally apologise, and he said that he would have been permanently excluded if he'd carried on ever doing that to me again. And kind of, again, I felt bad. I know why. I was the victim. He was in the wrong. But I generally felt bad. I felt bad because I didn't believe that the school was going to take it in that serious action. You know, what he was doing was wrong. Yeah, I totally get that. But I generally believed that it wasn't as... I didn't think the punishment was going to be that extreme. And coincidentally, for me, I don't hold any grudge. I don't look back on it with, you know, regret, and it sort of again shaped me into and molded me into the person I am now. And the person that did do this is a really, really nice person. He's really funny, he's caring, he's kind, and he's a good friend of mine. Really, really good friend of mine. And I think that's great when you've had this problem before, and you can stay friends with them, because life is so short. You know, we've only got one life. You know, I'm not going to sit about it, you know, grudging people and you know, thinking to myself about how things could be different and judging people that did these things to me. And you know, this happened a long, long time ago, and it's great that we are friends still, and we can talk about it and kind of look back on it in the past as something that just blew out of proportion. And I said to him, you know, I don't have any regret towards you, and I think you're a really great person. And the fact that I'm still friends with him now kind of proves that point. You know, he just made a mistake. I've made plenty of mistakes. I didn't help myself in school sometimes with the bullying. You know, I was vulnerable. I needed to toughen up. I was too sensitive. I tried too much for people to like me. You know, I tried too much to try and get people to like me, to try and make me fit in with the crowd, where incidentally I was already doing that, and I didn't need to try. I didn't need to be someone that I wasn't, you know. And you know, now I'm doing something that I'm absolutely loving. You know, I try and be nice to everyone. I kind of be caring. I have a good sense of humour. I like to be a bit mischievous at times. I have a great family supporting me. I also have great groups of friends. You know, my friendship group from school I'm really good friends with, and I count all of them basically like brothers. And the people in my college class, there's a lot of people in that class I also regard as brothers, and people that I want to be friends with for a long time. You know, I love my friendship groups, and my past kind of made me feel, because I knew that I never would be someone that I wasn't, and I would never let anyone walk over me in that particular moment. You know, I wouldn't ever let anyone walk over me like people did before in school, and it kind of made me realise that I need to be the person that I want to be and do the stuff that I want to do. So before I give people advice and kind of talk about, giving help for people who bully, I want to talk about one other instance which I still have from time to time now, that isn't me being bullied, because I haven't been bullied since year 11 in that magnitude, but it's something that I still struggle with at times with my group of mates, and that is the difference between banter and bullying. And this is something which I think a lot of people have a problem with, and this is not me being sexist. I'm not being sexist at all, but I feel like this banter thing happens predominantly in male groups to female groups. I mean, it might happen in female groups, but a lot of the girls that I've spoken to, and I'm friends with quite a lot of girls, I've rarely heard them talk about banter or use the word banter in their group when I've been around them. It's not to say that it doesn't happen, but for me, all this only happens when I'm with guys, not girls, and that's not me being sexist. That's just my point of view. I've already had this problem with boys, and as I said, boys will be boys. We love to mess around, we love to have a laugh. The way that we talk to each other is that we don't particularly care about each other's feelings most of the time. We kind of just say it how it is, and don't really think about the consequences. But there is a difference. There is an absolute difference, because banter is something that both parties do, and both parties kind of have this idea. If you're bantering with someone, you can have a laugh, you can take the mick out of each other, you can laugh at weaknesses that both of you have, if you are both laughing. So say if I'm with a mate of mine and he's rubbish at football, or if he's rubbish at football and I'm rubbish at I don't know, maybe a video game. I'm not particularly good at a certain video game, and I don't think they're very good at football. So we can banter about it with each other, we can have a laugh, we can talk about it, even though we don't necessarily mean it, but we can use it as a joke and kind of say it in that way, which happens all the time in my lad group. It always does. However, it's only banter if both parties are laughing the same. It can technically is classified as bullying, where say someone is ripping into me about my size, or being, say for example I'm a little bit skinny, so say one of my mates pokes fun at me for being too skinny, and I don't find it funny, and I say, right lads, yeah, that's funny, now enough is enough, and they carry it on, then that's not banter. That's bullying. Incident, short word. And if they are your friends, when you say, because we all do it, we all sometimes go over the top, we always necessarily try and be funny. We have banter with groups of people and friends that we know and care for. And if you're bantering with someone and they don't find it funny and they tell you to stop and you don't stop, then that's not really you being a friend. And I can totally get the argument that yes, you have to what's the word I'm looking for? You have to, as a person, you have to not necessarily bite back as much. That's something that I've had to come to terms with, that when I'm in my lad group, I don't bite back as much, so that I don't react to every little thing that banter is banter, and half the stuff they say is harmless. But when I get to a point where I've had enough and I say enough is enough, my mates now stop, which is brilliant. The problem solved. But there were moments that I went through in school where I would say enough is enough and it would carry on, and that is when you've got a little bit of a problem. And people who bully, incidentally use banter as a get out of jail card. When they get caught for bullying, they know exactly what they're doing. They say, oh, it was only banter. I was only bantering with that person. And schools can't really do anything about it, because they get away with it, because they say it was only a joke, we won't do it again. And you can't punish someone if they say, we're generally sorry, we don't know You know, you said sorry, you said you're not going to do it again. Where else can they go from that? So it's a very kind of clever way of getting around a situation. And yeah, I mean, I had that occasional problem. I've got a lot better as I've got older, and I don't have that problem. And I know how to take banter, and I know how when enough is enough, my friends stop. So I've never had those problems, incidentally. I think, and I'm going to finish off in a minute talking about advice and help, but I wanted to share this story because my family know of it. I've not been able to talk about it in this detail, and I don't think I've ever shared it with friends before, like in this level, in this detail. I've never shared it in this magnitude, so people will know about me in this way, will know about my past. And the reason why I've done it is because, for advice and help, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You know, if you're being bullied right now, if you are watching this video and you're being bullied by someone right now, it will feel like the worst time of your life ever. You know, you'll feel like you're worthless, you'll believe what the horrible things people are saying to you, and you'll generally believe that there is no way around it, that you believe that this is it, things are not going to get better. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. You know, what you have to do is you have to sit there and you have to think to yourself, do I want to go to school today? If you start having a doubt that you don't want to go to school because you don't want people to take the mick out of you, you've got a serious problem. And you have to think to yourself, am I being bullied? You have to ask yourself that question. And if there's any sort of doubt, then you need to have a real long, hard think of why there is a slight bit of doubt in your head, that, why do I feel like this? Why, is this actually happening? As I said at the start of the video, the first stage in solving bullying is recognising that there is a problem. You have to recognise, you have to be honest with yourself, you have to say, I'm not happy with how people are treating me, I feel like I'm being bullied, this needs to stop. Now, you have to feel that. You have to generally believe that this is kind of, what you have to believe to yourself, and believe that this is actually what's happening to you. And you have to be open and honest. You have to talk about it. You have to get it off your chest. You have to talk about how you feel, how it's making you feel, and what they're actually doing. The best place to do that is to talk with parents. Your parents will listen to you. Your parents will speak to you, and they can help and advise you. Speak to a teacher. Speak to a friend, someone that you trust, someone that you know, someone that is going to help you and listen to you and sort out this problem. You need to talk about someone in that way. Talking about it, discussing it is the first problem. You shouldn't ever, and I know it's really, really hard because you feel like you're in the wrong. You feel like that this is happening to you. You feel like you are, how should we say, you are kind of, you think to yourself that it's your fault. You think to yourself that you are the one to blame. You are the one that is causing the problem. You are the one that is in the wrong because you're being bullied. Lots of people feel like it's their fault and don't want to admit to themselves that this is happening to them. But that is the first stage in solving the problem. You have to talk about it with parents, family. You have to speak with someone so the wheels could get started in motion and you can put an end to it. I think the big thing for me, and the reason why I look at it as a positive, is that happened. I mean, this happened, the first act of bullying happened 5-6 years ago. My next bullying phase I had with me and my friend in year 11 happened 2 years ago. And the banter bullying thing was at its height 2-3 years ago. I've not had that problem in months, probably even a year. Really, occasionally I have it, when I get upset when things have gone too far, but then I forgive people, move on. It happens. It happens, particularly in a lad group. And if you're a little bit sensitive, it will happen to you. Please don't sneeze now. I've got the sensation that I'm going to sneeze. This is not the time. I've gone for an hour not sneezing, so... okay. But yeah, this happened to me a long time ago. I don't have regrets now. The people that did it, I still like. I still have that feeling which, I think that they weren't bad people. I think they made a mistake. I think to myself that, it didn't necessarily, it wasn't necessarily them being bad, and nor necessarily it means they didn't like me. They just did something that they couldn't stop, and it just spiraled from there and there and there. We all make mistakes when we're younger. We all do stuff we're not proud of. I could have handled it better. I should be so sensitive. I need to learn to kind of man up in a little way, which I have done over the last couple of years. I believe that I've manned up and kind of can take criticism a bit more, and I don't take things to heart as much. Occasionally I do, but that's just my personality. That's just my characteristic. But I'm much better than I was kind of, a couple of years ago. And looking back, it defined me as a person. It kind of showed me who I am as a person, what I want to be, what I want to do, and I'm never ever going to let anyone walk over me. If you're constantly going out your way on a multiple basis to kind of upset me and cause me grief, then I'm not going to speak to you. I'm not going to be friends with you. It's as simple as that. Anyone that wanted to do that, I'm not friends with anymore. I'm civil to everyone. I don't go out my way to be horrible, and I don't want to harm anyone, and I don't want to cause grief with anyone. But if people are not going to be nice to me, then I just won't speak to them. It's as simple as that, because there isn't any need, and I'm never going to go back to that. So I've kind of stood up and kind of, I stand up for what I believe in. I stand up for what I want, and I know who I am as a person. I know what I want to do, and I've got great groups of friends. And if people are going to not treat me as how I want to be treated, then I'm not going to be friends with them. It's as simple as that. And I learnt that from the bullying in school. I learnt that from being in that position and having dark days of school. And incidentally, it doesn't change what I said in the last episode about school. Yeah, I didn't enjoy school, and I said year 8. Year 7 was an alright year. I enjoyed that year mostly. Year 8 was the worst year of my life. I was bullied. It was a horrible year. But from then on, year 9 and 10 were really good years. Apart from that small bullying matter in year 11, I left school very, very happy with great grades, great group of friends, great memories. So it wasn't all doom and gloom. It really wasn't all doom and gloom. There were awful moments. As I said, there were moments of joy, moments of despair. So, I didn't love school and I didn't enjoy school. There was periods in time that I didn't want to go to school because of the bullying thing. But overall, when I look at my 5 years in general, it was kind of a 50-50 bag really for me, and that doesn't change it. All of the good things that I said last week don't dampen what has happened now, which I'm speaking to in this episode. So, there's advice. There's loads of websites out there that you can, and organisations, charities that you can speak to. But the huge bit of advice that I want to give to you right now is that the first stage in solving bullying and sorting out the problem is recognising that there is one. You've got to speak up, you've got to talk about it, you can't let your feelings hidden, and the longer you leave it, the more that you decide just to get on with it, the worse you'll get, and that is when you have a danger of spiralling into, depression, self-harm, suicide, because if you keep it at bay and leave it there, floating in the water, sooner or later you're going to go under, really. So, the biggest and best advice I can give to anyone out there that's been affected by bullying is speak up about it. You have to tell someone, you have to stand up and say, this is what's happening and I need to put a stop to it once and for all. Coincidentally as well, for people who are bullying someone and know about it, you need to stop there and think to yourself, if you are bullying someone, if someone was doing this to me, reverse kind of the scenario. If this was happening to me, would I feel happy about it? Would it upset me? And if the answer is no, then you're not doing anything wrong. But if the answer is yes, this would upset me, then you know what you've got to do. You've got to stop doing, you've got to put it in your tracks. So yeah, I'm kind of relieved that I've now spoke about that in general, talked about my bullying story, talked about bullying in general, and given advice and support for people who are being bullied or bullying people. It was hard. I didn't leave anything out, and it was a lot in my past. Please don't feel sorry for me. Please don't sympathise with me. Please don't look at me in a different way. This was in my past. This happened a long, long time ago, and I'm happy. I'm loving life at the minute. I can't stress. I'm loving life. I'm loving what I'm doing. I've got a good group of friends. I've got a brilliant family, great group of family around me. My fan base is brilliant. Everyone that watches my video, they subscribe, are really nice. I'm enjoying my content. They get shown appreciation by leaving likes, comments. And I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. That happened before. I regret some of the stuff that I did. I was to blame at times. I wasn't perfect nonetheless, but at times I had some really horrible moments. So I need to kind of think to myself that if I could go back and do things differently, I would. I wouldn't let it get to that stage, and I think people that did that wouldn't have done that if they could go back and change things. But it was in my past. It was a long time ago. It's something that I feel passionate about talking, and I've never ever shared in this level before. So that's exactly what I want to do, and I wanted to do this video. So yeah, I'm now going to conclude the episode. Obviously, if anything that I spoke about in today's episode, and anything that you want me to discuss, if you want one-to-one basis, if you've been affected by any of the issues raised in this episode, then please feel free to drop me a line. The email address is at DJBagpussBullying, capital D, capital B, capital B, at hotmail.co.uk. It will be on screen now. I'll leave a link to it in the description. It's been popped up every kind of 10 minutes. Also, don't forget that you can leave a like on the video if you've enjoyed, or not enjoyed, but if you found what I've spoke about helpful, then please show your appreciation by hitting a like. Subscribe to the channel if you are new around here as well, so you'll never miss a moment of the DJ Bagpuss Show, and you can catch up with the DJ Bagpuss Show Season 1 so far. And also follow me on Twitter at DJBagpuss1998 as well. So I really hope I've helped and informed and trying to help anyone out there that needs help, or just kind of spoke about something that is very, very close to my heart, and something that affected me, and kind of I've now rounded off my entire school days 50-50 bag. There were some great moments, there were some bad moments. I don't have any regrets. I don't judge any of the people that did cause me harm and bullied me. They're not bad people. I respect them. I admire them now. I'm great friends with some of them, and they weren't bad people incidentally. So if they are watching now, that is how you made me feel, but like 5-6 years ago. But now I think you're amazing people. I think you're getting on with your lives. You're doing stuff amazingly. You've turned the corner. You've come out of that side, and you're doing really, really well. In general. And I want to say thank you to my family that helped me got through the situation, friends as well, and thank you to my current friends, friends at college who are brilliant, that make me smile, make me laugh, and my lad friends who, without them, I don't know where I'd be now. I kind of all see them as brothers to me, and I'm really, really happy with life in general, and I enjoy every single moment. I've been sort of the YouTuber at the minute where I'm very honest and open with you guys. I kind of say it as it is. I don't hold anything back. The only time I did was when we did Q&A with the DJ, the drinking challenge, where but the whole kind of the gag on that, the joke and the setup on that was that I would never answer questions. That the questions that I was asked, there would be not a hope in hell's chance I would have actually answered those questions. And obviously, I keep some personal stuff, away from it. You only see what I see on camera, but the majority of the things that I've spoken about that are related to the episodes, music, films, video games, school, I've been open and I've not hid anything away, and that's exactly what I'm doing. If I'm going to be talking about something, I'm going to talk about it in general. So yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope you found it insightful, and if you've been affected, then as ever, please feel free to drop me a line. I'll try and email every serious case and respond back to try and give as much advice as I can on the matter. I might do some more videos on this nearer the time to try and give advice and kind of talk about it, but this was kind of an overall thing, and I don't want videos to be like this in a negative way. I don't want the DJ Bagpuss Show to be negative. So next week we've got a very special football episode. We'll be previewing the FA Cup final and reviewing the Premier League season as well. We'll have a special guest hopefully on for that one, and then we've got a very special podcast coming up the following week. Bagpuss Uncut kicks off once again in all its glory. Very special football video coming out for that one, and lots of great stuff is coming up on my channel. So stay tuned by hitting the subscribe button, leave a like on the video if you have enjoyed. This is going to be the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall speak to you all very, very soon. And this is DJ Bagpuss signing out. I shall speak to you very, very soon. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have enjoyed. This is DJ Bagpuss signing out once again, and hopefully next week I won't be very ill, and hopefully we'll be able to speak and not cough kind of every 10 minutes. So I shall speak to you very, very soon. Take care. See you later.